Hi, our guest today is Carl Damigella. Carl is with the MetroWest Regional Transit Authority, which is going to begin daily bus service within Milford on Monday, August 29th. Carl, thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So first question I have is, Milford is now becoming a full-fledged member of MetroWest Regional Transit, or MWRTA. How did the other towns in the network feel about that?
It took a while to get us to get Milford more involved. Actually, you're not just, by starting a fixed route, you're not just a full-fledged member. They've been a full-fledged member for a little over a year.
I mean in terms of having a full route.
All right, having a fixed route.
Yeah.
I think a majority of the other towns that would join up with our regular system map, which would be the other routes that we have, are kind of thrilled about it, because it gives other surrounding towns the opportunity to be able to come into Milford, you know, especially to do shopping and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're from neighboring Holliston, and you said the people in Holliston in particular would rather come to Milford than go out to
Framingham and Natick.
the cluttered mile in Framingham and Natick, the
Right.
magic mile, the million mile. I call it the traffic jam mile.
Well, that's right.
The Golden Triangle.
and come shop on Fortune Boulevard and those places.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other thing too, that you have a hidden gem within this area is the Milford Regional Hospital. I think we have a lot of seniors, especially in Holliston, that right now our senior van is taking them to appointments here in Milford.
And the cancer center with it.
Yeah, oh, the Dana-Farber is key. You know, it's really key. Now people that were going into Boston for their cancer treatment can get the same treatment here.
Yeah,
right
they're
in
actually
Milford.
told if you live in the area and you go there, they say, "Why are you here? Go to Milford."
Yeah, yeah.
But at any rate, so you're going to start on Monday the 29th.
Right.
You have approximately, what is it, a 19-stop route to start?
Roughly, it's about that, yes.
Okay. That may be modified over time, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nothing is etched in stone at this point.
Okay, we'll do a later interview with the new Transportation Advisory Committee, but nothing's etched in stone, and it takes about, what, an hour to go the whole route?
We did it yesterday in the afternoon, because what we're trying to do is get different times during
Right.
the day, and it took us a little less than an hour.
Okay.
Our main concern for the Milford Route 14 is that it meets up with the Holliston-Ashland Route 6 at Mission Springs.
So people can get on a bus there
Transfer
and go
and move
elsewhere.
and go someplace.
Right, because right now the way the Route 14 would be set up is it starts in Framingham at our main hub on Blandon Avenue, and it comes up to Milford after it stops at Mission Springs. So if any senior that lives at Mission Springs, I should explain too, is a 75-unit senior housing complex on Summer Street, which is across from the Fatima Shrine.
Right.
So a lot of those people can't wait for this to happen.
That's where that route doesn't end. You do come in the morning and go out at night now.
That will remain the same. That Route 6
Okay.
that comes in the morning, it leaves Framingham at 6
Okay.
o'clock in the morning. That's more of a commuter
Right.
a bus that comes in, picks up people, either takes them to work or takes them to the commuter rail in Framingham.
But the bulk of the route is from Mission Spring, you'll come in and start the Milford Loop.
Correct.
And how often will that loop run?
It will run at least 13 times during the day.
Wow.
From what time in the morning?
It will leave Framingham for the first run to start in Milford at 6:30.
And what time does it get into Milford?
It will get into Milford, actually to Quarry Square, 29 minutes later.
Okay, and then the last one going out will leave the town of Milford to go to Holliston when?
The last one that goes out will get to Mission Springs at, I believe it's 8:05. I'm trying to commit to memory
Okay.
here.
So
But-
if I live, say, in the Birmingham Court, housing for the elderly on Sumner Street, I could wait for the bus, get on it, go to, let's say, Fortune Boulevard, go shopping, several hours later, get back on and come to Birmingham.
Right. Now, the thing that you have to understand is that it's not going to go straight from Birmingham to
Right, it
Fortune
follows the
Boulevard.
route.
Right, it follows the route. So
It follows the
what
bus
it would
route,
do
right.
is it would stop at Birmingham, then from there it goes.
Finish the route,
Right, back to Mission Springs,
and then
back
start
in
it, right.
Holliston, back in Milford, rather.
But as long as I have your schedule,
Mm-hmm.
I know that at these 13 times a day, it's going to pick me up at Target.
It's
Right.
going to pass the Target
Right,
bus stop.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if there's nobody there, it doesn't stop.
Target is a little different because that's a full stop.
Okay, but
well,
what I'm
that's
saying is
another
that-
thing we have to get into. You have full stops and flag down stops.
Correct.
Can you explain the difference?
Absolutely. If you were on Route 16, which would be East Main Street,
Correct,
standing in front of Truffles, for instance.
yes.
What the bus will do is after it goes to Truffles, it doesn't stop at Truffles, but after it goes by Truffles, it takes a right into Quarry Square
Correct.
after the 99. Now, if you don't want to walk over to where the bus stop is in Quarry Square, you can flag the bus down as it's coming by, so that you could actually have the bus stop to pick you up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the same way on the reverse. If you want to get off the bus, there's a cord on the
you
bus
pull-
that you
And
pull.
there will be signs, though, that say flag stop.
Yeah, there
So
will be a
a
differential
A
from,
pedestrian will see a sign flag stop, meaning you got to go, hey.
right.
Okay,
right.
versus a full stop means the bus comes to a stop there, opens the doors,
Right.
looks for somebody,
Yeah.
closes the doors, either lets them on or if there's nobody, moves on.
Right. It usually will be there at that true stop
Right.
for about 10 seconds, 10
Okay.
to 15 seconds.
And the pull cord is you pull the yellow cord on the bus.
Right.
And it beeps the driver to pull
And-
over
and
at the
they
next
stop.
stop.
And what the driver will do is, one thing that we should make clear, because if somebody interprets this different as far as letting them off at the next stop, actually what it will do is it will stop them, let them off at the safest, most convenient spot.
Right.
Okay, now,
So it doesn't have to be a stop.
Okay.
It
No.
w- If we were driving, if the bus stops a block down there and the bus stops a block down this way, and my house is right here, if I pull the cord, the next convenient and safe place, it's going to stop and let me off. Which
Correct.
could be right in front of my house
now,
or
now,
wherever.
my understanding is Scott Crisafulli, the head of the highway department, and the police chief, Tom O'Laughlin, helped pick out the routes based on where the safe stops are and where it's not going to impede traffic.
Correct.
So your town hall stop is actually on North Bow Street, not on Main Street in front of town hall.
Right. One of the things that the selectmen did not want us to do is go up Main Street through town because of the fact that there's no really good place
To pull
to
over.
put a bus stop.
Okay,
So
if-
what we do is,
Right.
the town hall stop is actually the north side of downtown.
Right,
And then when it comes out of South Bow Street and stops in front of the police station, actually across the street
At
from
Park
the police
Street.
station. Yeah, that is the south side of downtown.
right.
So that there is no point between those two spots that it's really not more than a half a mile walk if you
Right.
had to.
So if I'm coming from Purchase Street and want to go to the Milford Town Library,
Mm-hmm.
it would probably be, the best thing to do would be to get off at the town hall stop,
Absolutely.
and then I walk the 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, or if you're on Purchase Street, for instance, what we do is to go to Birmingham Court to Sumner
Right.
Street, we take a left on Dilla Street.
right.
Now, that's a little far walk for anybody to go to the library, but what
Town hall would be the closest stop.
Yeah, or coming out of Birmingham Court,
Correct.
because anywhere along Sumner Street, if there's a straight shot, in the shortest point as the crow flies, then you can get off on Sumner Street. I apologize where the stop sign is there, but Pheno Field is down to your left.
Right.
If that's a shorter walk than walking from the town hall or walking from
Yeah.
Main Street, the bus can let
Pull the
you off
cord and
there.
get off
Yeah,
there.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now,
Now,
the second
okay.
question, the other question is fee.
Yeah.
Okay, how does that happen? How do you do that? If you got a coin collector or?
If they're old coins, we'll like that.
Yeah.
But-
No, what I'm saying
Right.
is the buses I'm used to
Yeah.
have a thing about that tall and about that square.
And you drop a bunch of change in it.
Right.
Drop change in it.
We're
Well,
dating ourselves.
The fare box that's on the bus is roughly about 3 feet tall, and when you get on the bus, it's facing you right in front of you. That takes either bills or coins, no credit cards, but it does take the Charlie card. Now, a little over 60% of our ridership uses the Charlie card.
And you get a discount for using it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's more for convenience of the passenger too, because of the fact that if we take cash, we only take exact change.
Right.
So if you get on our bus for an adult for a fare, one way with one transfer in the same direction is $1.50. If you have the Charlie card, it's $1.25. Now, a lot of people say, well, 25 cents isn't that much. If you're going to be riding the bus a long time,
That's a lot of change.
it's a lot of change. It really is. Now, the same fare structure for a senior is 75 cents for a senior, and they have to show identification. Or if you have the senior Charlie card, it's 70 cents.
Oh, okay.
So it's
It's a
quite a bit
significant-
of,
significant
absolutely,
discount.
Okay.
absolutely.
Now, you can buy a Charlie card, you can get a blank Charlie card from a driver
Right.
And-
There's no fare on it.
and
that-
charge it
I-
up on that machine.
Yes, you can load it right on the machine. So the Charlie cards we give up have no fare on them. I think the misconception that a lot of people have is that we sell Charlie cards, and we don't sell Charlie cards.
No, you give a
We give
blank.
them away, yeah,
You give them away, then they fill them with
with
Right,
fare on the bus.
so if I have let's say I'm a frequent rider and I go to my ATM to get my cash, since it usually dispenses only 20s, can I then put a $20 in the fare box and put $20 in the card? It's like buying a gift card at
Right,
one of
absolutely.
the stores. You give them
Absolutely.
the money and they give you the gift card charge.
Correct.
The difference here is you have to hold, well, the machine will tell you how to do it, or the driver will help you.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory as to, on the fare box, it will tell you there's a white button, and they press the white button. On the screen, it will tell you to tap your Charlie card. And the important thing is to remember is you want to only tap your Charlie card.
Right, not
Because
leave it there.
if you have money on the card and you hold it on that orange rectangle, it will take all the money off.
Oh, that's a nice deal.
Yeah. The other thing too is if you don't have a Charlie card and you have two $1 bills for a $1.50 fare, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you ask the driver for a Charlie
Charlie card
card,
to
which
get the
he
change.
should have, and put that $2 on the Charlie card.
So you
because
keep your 50
You
cents.
keep your 50 cents, because if you just put the two $1 bills
They won't
in,
give you change?
no,
No.
we just made 50 cents off you.
Okay. Well, that's
Okay.
good, it's good, it's
Yeah.
good information.
Right,
So
right.
my understanding of this is you're going to try the bus schedule that's been made up for
Yeah.
Route 14.
Yeah,
The town has a new Transportation Advisory Committee that will be working with you,
right.
and they'll recommend adjustments to you guys and work them out with you. So maybe it might take 3 months later. You're not going to change the thing every day.
No,
So-
3 months is a pretty good idea to get it,
You can look
So-
at the statistical
Right.
average of how many people get on it,
So
what
maybe
stops, and
every,
then-
every three, the next change we might see, if it starts on August to September to October, November, is maybe
The end of
sometime in the end of November, you might change the schedule, and that would be publicized again.
Right. But my thought, the way the advisory board runs, is that any communication between the MWRTA and the town of Milford comes from the advisory board member, who is most of the time the chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Which is Scott Crisafulli, the highway surveyor.
No, Bill Buckley, the
Oh, the chairman of
the high-
selectmen.
You're right.
So
right.
they go to the selectmen.
Tell them
And then
that-
Bill is the town's designated, Bill Buckley is the town's designated member on the board.
Right,
The
and-
MWRTA board. He will pass that in.
And that, basically, that's part of the bylaws for the advisory board for the MWRTA.
Well, that's good. That way you don't get 400 people saying make a
That's the
change.
problem, you get the reason that it was changed like that was because of the fact that we were getting phone calls from the COA director or the highway superintendent.
No, you need it to be official.
Right, and it has to be, if, next year when Bill is not the chairman and the new chairman comes on, that's usually the person that does it.
That would be Selectman Kincaid.
Correct, but the thing is that if he doesn't want to take on that responsibility,
leave it with-
although he's a transportation person, he will just say that the designee from Milford is going to be Bill Buckley for the next year.
Because, yeah, so at least it's a selectman level.
Yes,
Right.
but we do have COA directors that are advisory board members.
Well, yeah, the Transportation Advisory Committee, Al has on
Right.
Scott Crisafulli, who's the highway superintendent, is the chair. Sue Clark, who's the senior center director, is on the committee. You have a gentleman from the librarian committee. You have a gentleman who works at Milford Hospital and is a Chenal 6 member, and Chenal 6 gave the big grant. They're on it. I'm trying to think. You have,
Somebody from the police department, I would guess.
no.
Oh,
No,
really?
You have a couple of private citizens. I'm trying to think of who else is on it off the top of my, finance committee member.
right. And that's your finance director, David.
Mr. Swaris from the finance
his
committee
name?
is on. And so right away you have a highway, which is really the roads and the stops, senior center, library, finance committee, the medical community through
Board for the health, for the hospital.
through the hospital in Chenal. And right there is 5 out of 7 members is sort of covering the town. And they report to, you're right, the selectmen,
Right.
who then will give you the
Now,
changes.
just out of curiosity, let's say in November, they determine that they're going to take this stop off, and they're going to add a stop over here. How does that get out to the public? How do we tell the public that?
Well, again, this is a perfect resource right here is cable TV, the newspapers. We do a lot of the get the word out type thing.
Okay.
We'll do outreach too.
Okay.
Because I think that what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to see as to where the greatest number of people are that are getting on and off the buses. I think that right now, when we first started out, I was given a list of, can you try and touch all of these places?
And then you had a ridiculous bus route of about 30 stops.
Yeah, it was about 30-something stops, and it was also way over an hour.
I also think the one you have now is a little bit too much, but that's my own
Well,
opinion.
the interesting part about it is that 3 months from today, you'll tweak it a little bit.
We're going to have to, and I'll tell you why. We're going to be running this route. We're running it right now as a test, not a test on the 29th. 29th,
You
we're
go
going
live.
full bore. But right now, when we're coming to Milford and we're doing test runs in Milford, we don't have the school buses, we don't have the people are back from vacation for
You don't
the
have the
summertime.
traffic pattern.
Absolutely.
Right, so you
And
go
it's
live
gonna be-
August 29th, and 2 weeks later,
School starts, and it's a whole different
well,
ballgame.
traffic
or 1
pattern
week
will start.
later, school's going to start, the buses are going to be out.
Yeah,
The summer people are gone, so the road conditions might change.
absolutely.
The road construction should be over,
Hopefully.
but you're gonna time it and see how it works.
Now, the buses run, and which makes a good road conditions, which is another good question. Let's assume, let's say in January, we have a major snowstorm. Now, when do the buses say we can't run, and how do people get notified that the buses aren't running?
During 2 years ago, that winter, that was unbelievable.
Yes, it was.
Most snow ever in Boston and all that.
Right.
When the MBTA trains were not running,
Right.
we were still running. The only day we didn't run was a state of emergency. And what I like to say
Because the
is,
governor said don't.
he said not to. And what I like to tell people is, we run on roads, not on rails. So it's a lot easier for us because the DPW and all the 15-member communities
It's very
did a
good.
great job for plowing, so we can still go. The schedule might not be on time, but we're still running. We will not cancel a route because
Okay,
of weather.
so essentially, you don't cancel the buses.
No.
And people should use their common sense on a really bad snow day and say,
Yeah, if you normally wouldn't go out yourself, chances are, why do you want to get on a bus?
Bus, right.
well, quite honestly, a lot of the people that don't have cars, especially the seniors and the disabled community, they're not going to go out in bad weather anyway.
No.
It's the people that
go
don't
to
have a
work.
car but are able-bodied
That go to
that
a
may
job.
say, hey,
Right.
but you know what, on a snow day, they're usually going in late anyway.
Okay,
And,
so,
and the important thing too is that you have to look at is that because of the fact that the people that don't have cars, they might
Right.
be working at a high intense area like a hospital or a nursing home or a fixed, a facility that needs to have somebody there. And they can't cancel their work.
And I know in Milford, there are local transportation arrangements that the police and fire department make for people that live within Milford and need to go to those jobs, like the hospital.
Important.
They
Okay.
actually pick them up and drive them.
So the long and short of it is, the chances, even in the worst winter we've seen in years,
Right.
you still ran.
Absolutely.
So the chances of the buses being scheduled, not running, are pretty slim.
Right.
Unless the governor says,
And then a state of emergency.
I evoke state of
Nobody-
emergency,
then
get
nobody
off the
moves.
roads.
Right. Okay.
That's when the police and the fire can do the runs, because in a state of emergency, they're granted because they're emergency
Right.
vehicles.
Right. So it's only ambulances, fire, and police.
Right. Now, we're going to be showing some footage behind this interview of one of the buses you brought by. But
Okay.
it's important to say, you said that's not the bus that you'll be having on the street.
No,
You showed us a 12-seat bus
It's 12
that you
passengers.
yourself drove here today.
Yes,
The bus going out is how many seats?
16,
And
8 standing.
we, those of us who are transportation proponents hope there will be people standing.
Absolutely. We're hoping that there are full buses, because one thing we don't want is if we pull up to a stop and we can't get somebody on that bus because it's too full, then what we need to do is, if it's every time around, we, the MWRTA, needs to go to the selectmen and
And
say,
say,
hey,
we need more.
it's time for another bus. And I think you're going to see that it will get to that.
Well, you have the naysayers who can't believe this is even needed, and you have the realists who know it's needed. So somewhere in between the two, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. I personally have predicted that the ridership is there waiting for the bus.
It is.
And I believe you may not have every bus filled to capacity, but you are going to have a lot of traffic on those buses.
I think you have a great visionary here in Milford with Harold Rhodes, because I think that he really sees the need.
Well, he surveyed
Yeah,
the most vulnerable to determine their needs. He went to the churches.
Yep.
He went to the senior and disabled housing. He went to the senior center. And he got a good baseline from all of them, the veterans agent,
right.
on what the unmet needs are, because those people know. And that enough, in his eyes, was enough people to justify the bus.
Absolutely.
So if half of what he projected rides the bus, you're going to have ridership.
Right, right.
And
Not
people tended to ignore that and said, oh, your numbers are off.
Not-
Nobody needs this.
Not including the people who have found other means that are less convenient to get to wherever they're going.
Just the other day, I ran into somebody who doesn't own a car, who called Uber to get a ride from the downtown area in Milford back to their house.
Now, the one thing, I can understand that,
And
because
paid through the nose for it,
I'm sure.
because there is no longer a cab service within
No.
Milford that I'm aware of.
But the thing is, as far as the Uber is concerned, that it is going to be more expensive, but we're not a taxi.
No,
Right.
you're not
People
door to
have to
door.
understand that what we're trying to do with the routes that we set up, that it's within a half, 3/4 of a mile from an area where
They
people
wanna be.
are
Now,
residents.
let me ask you a question that was raised by the opponents. If I am a disabled person and I live within how much of the route?
3/4 of a mile.
Okay. Do you take, and I call for a ride, do you take the bus going around town and have it deviate that 3/4 of a mile?
Yes.
Or do you send a special handicap bus?
No, because all of our buses have wheelchair ramps and
Okay,
wheelchair
so you
lifts.
go the 3/4 of a mile, you
Correct.
pick me up, then you go back to the regular route.
Right, and that, as long as they are registered with us as
Handicapped.
a disabled person.
So that
Okay.
means you already have their address and you have their requirements to pick them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So how
the-
do you keep the schedule if you have 3 of those on your hour
No,
circle?
that's a good question.
It's kind of a rarity, but what we do is, with the bus route that we set up for Milford,
Mm-hmm.
we build some dwell time in. It's not a lot, but it's still time that we can pick up
Right.
the time that we lost.
Because that was one of the arguments I heard during the forums was, well, how can they stick to a schedule if they're going here, there, and everywhere?
Right.
And I think you said that makes the assumption that you're stopping every 3 minutes to pick up somebody with a disability.
Right. Well, actually, it takes more than that. I'm not going to lie. It takes probably about 15 minutes to deploy the ramp, put somebody
Yes.
in a wheelchair on the bus, and secure them in the bus. So that's some of the stuff that we have to, adjust. One of the things that we are doing is midday on the schedule that we have.
Yes.
At 1:57, I believe it is, and don't hold me to that, but we have a shift change. So the driver that was driving in the morning, his last route out of Dodge, so to speak, going to Mission Springs, then going to Framingham, there's another bus that's already left Framingham that's coming to Milford.
So you also have an equipment change.
Yeah, bus, driver,
Yeah, it's
everything.
equipment and a driver, it's truly.
But for the
equipment.
ridership, they don't really realize this because if they're just staying within Milford,
Right.
they don't know.
Now, the only difference is going to be is if for some reason they want to get on the Route 6, they're going to have to get off and transfer. If they're
Correct.
going back to Framingham, then they don't have to worry about that.
That's a whole nother subject to go into at a different day.
For
But we've got a couple of minutes left, so
Okay.
basically, let's try to sum things up. You start on Monday the 29th.
correct.
Where can people go to get a schedule right now?
Right now,
Yes.
I don't believe it's online yet, but I would say probably by the end of this week, it should be set up so it's on our website.
Okay. How about in terms of hard copies? Are there going to be hard copies?
What we will do is we'll make sure that we have them at all strategic locations.
Town hall,
Town hall,
library?
senior center, library.
Okay.
Now, we've got the annual luncheon at the senior center, which Sue has predicted there's going to be about 100 people there.
Yes.
We're going to be doing senior Charlie cards there. Even if seniors don't want to go and get a, for the lunch, but they want to get a senior Charlie card, we will
So
still.
you've done outreach, right? I know you had a session at the library.
Yeah,
You were going to be at the senior center.
yeah.
You plan to go to the housing complexes, don't you?
Yeah, we've already been once, we're going to do it again.
Okay.
We're actually doing two because my sort of mantra has been that I'm going to give you a senior Charlie card. Please don't put it in the bottom of your pocketbook or in your wallet, and you're never going to use it.
Right.
We want to get people on the bus and get them using it.
Now-
So we're scheduling what we call adventures. We will actually go with people. We like to do about 6 at a time because more people can learn about it. We'll go multiple times, but we're going to schedule times and dates as to when we're going to take people on these adventures so that they can actually get the experience of riding on the bus.
Okay. And now one other thing, everybody tends to focus on the elderly and disabled. The average person below the age of 50, say, who's very smartphone enabled, my understanding is if we go to the MWRTA website, you can literally trace where Route 14 is going around the loop.
Right. The only thing is I can't promise you it's going to be there on the 29th. I'm hoping, I've got my fingers crossed that it's going to be. But all of our other 12 routes now,
Right.
You can do that and actually see where the bus is.
So let's take it's a snowy day and the bus is running a little late. And I normally get on it, let's just pick an arbitrary time.
At
I'm
night.
going to get out at 10:20 a.m. and I can look and realize that it is the other side of the route. It's not going to make me at 10:20.
Right.
So I can wait until it's close enough before I want to go to the nearest stop.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And again, if the nearest stop, one of the things that we kind of look at as far as either a flag down or a regular stop is that we're not picking up somebody like the Truffles example
Right.
in front of Truffles and then in front of 99 there's somebody there waiting
Right.
for the bus. We would rather have them all go to the same location and pick them up one time.
And you are going to have signs up.
Yes.
And the signs either say flag stop or just say stop.
Yeah,
Bus
they'll
stop.
say bus stop and the Route 14.
Right.
And then the flag downs will say bus stop, Route 14, and then it will have a little hand on it, and it will say flag down on the side of it.
Okay, that means I go like this.
Yes, like hailing a cab.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're here. We're actually run out of time on this first time. I have a feeling we're going to have you back as this process rolls out over the year.
I'd love to come back.
Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
It's important.
Yes.
It's important for me and for the MWRTA to make sure that people know how to use the bus.